I just booked on. I'm fourth in zone. The usual suspects are ahead of me. It is Taxi Vlog 299, and it is the 2nd of April, 2014. Oh, shut up. You know, the first time this beeper goes off during my shift, it annoys me, but every other time that it goes off after that, I don't even hear it. Well, I guess I might be getting into the habit of doing these things a little early, and the reason is this. This way I don't forget what happened in the last couple days. It's a little dark. I don't really need these glasses. It's Monday night. I came out and it was slowish. Typical Monday night, and first week of the month I wasn't expecting a lot. So it went along that I sort of soldiered on through the night. I'm getting through this book, Jack McDevitt, The Devil's Eye. I think I'll finish it tonight if the week was like the rest of the week has been, or if tonight will be like the week has been. Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant to say. So, Monday night was quiet, and I went to sleep 2 or 3 times, and I figured, you know, at 4 in the morning, I had pretty much all the money on that I was going to get. But at 4:30, I got a call, and it ended up going from my part of town north somewhat, a $20 fare at 4:30 in the morning. And the ironic or interesting thing about it is that earlier on in the night, I think it was the only fare that I took downtown. I took these 2 girls downtown to go out to a bar. And they were dressed to the nines, but they had like mini skirts, and these were stylish young ladies, you know. And it was interesting to get sent to the same address where I had picked them up earlier to pick up this guy who got in the cab and said that he could not believe how messy this girl's room was. He couldn't find his belt buckle. And then he was looking for his t-shirt afterwards, and he found his t-shirt, but not in the girl's room, in the living room. And he said that he's really fucked up, and he didn't know if he had fucked her or not. This is making love. This is going out for the sake of hooking up. And we're at a crosswalk. There's a person with one of those electric wheelchairs and a huge teddy bear, and there are cars stopped on the other side, and there's me stopped here. Oh, the light is green. Good. Alright, where were we? Anyway, this guy had never seen a girl's room as messy as this one. It was like a clothes explosion or something like that, the way he described it. And there were things everywhere. And he never did find his belt buckle, having told the girl that if you find a belt buckle, it's mine. So he went home completely flabbergasted and not even remembering the experience, if there was an experience at all. Myself, if I see a messy room, I usually get turned off. Or back in the day, when I would see a messy room, I would get turned off. There was 1 or 2 times that I did see a messy room and it didn't matter. Anyway, got him home, and then after doing that, I was coming back down the highway back towards the part of town where I usually wait and read or sleep. And just as I was passing, I was between 2 exits, and there's a side road that parallels the highway. And I got a call. It pinged me, and the call was right there. I was looking at it, so I just had to take the next exit and go along the parallel road. Come on and drive. Learn today. Oh, fuck. Make it happen real slow. Alright. So I went there and I phoned the number, and there was no answer, but I waited a couple minutes anyway, and these two somewhat rough-looking guys came out of this condo building, and they wanted to go to another place which was halfway across town, which was a good distance because they were out of town. So, and halfway into town, that was nice. That's at least $20 right there. So, okay, fine. And he said, and you take the highway and you turn left there and then you follow that road. Anyway, we ended up taking a zigzag kind of route to where we were going, which didn't matter to me. That's the way the guy wanted to go, and it cost more than the way I would have gone anyway. Fine. You know, these controlling people who have to have things their way, and they don't realize that they're wasting their money. Anyway, I went his way, and we picked up this girl there, and there was a guy in the back, or two guys in the back, but one guy in the back wanted to pick up that girl, and the other guy in the back was talking to someone else on a phone to go pick her up somewhere. And it happened that we were picking this other girl up not far from where the girl in the front was on the phone with some guy who she wanted to meet to pick up a quarter. And it happened to be just around the corner from where we were picking up this other girl, so it worked out really well. Anyway, we picked up the girl after finding out where exactly she was, because the guy who was on the phone behind me wasn't telling me where exactly she was. But we found her, finally, after getting directions play-by-play, and we got her. And then we ended up sitting in a dark alley with our lights off, waiting for some guy to come out of the bushes and get the quarter for the girl who was in the front on the phone with him negotiating. So now they got a quarter, and that's all the guy had. And it turns out that she was asking the guy behind her, who's the guy sitting on the right, is that enough? He says, well, I don't do it, but the girl sitting behind me did. And she said, that's not enough. So the girl in the front, instead of taking her back to where we found her at her home, she was negotiating on the phone again with some other supplier at the other end of town to get another quarter. Whatever that is. I don't even know. I don't do these drugs. My drug of choice is, well, if you don't know by now, Scotch whiskey and or beer, you know. So I don't know from these terms. You know, I tried cocaine once, and I didn't get high at all. I didn't feel high. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel anything. But then I came down. I came down so bad that it was like worse. It was like depression, you know. For a couple days I was depressed, or feeling depressed. And so I conclude that people who suffer from seasonal affective disorder should not do cocaine, especially in the wintertime, because that's when I was. Where were we going with that? So we went halfway across town to sit in a schoolyard parking lot waiting for someone else to come out through the chain link fence and get us another quarter. And the guy who was sitting in the back on the right, who I assumed was the guy who was going to pay, kept touching me on the shoulder and saying, sorry buddy, oh, I didn't mean to take you through this, oh, sorry buddy. Because these people were alternately arguing with the guy in the back and the girl, not the guy who is paying, but the other two, the guy and his girlfriend were arguing, and he was on the phone with somebody, and this guy was sometimes on the phone with somebody, and the girl in the front was on the phone with somebody too. So you had, 3 or 4 different conversations going on in the car between 4 passengers, and I just stayed out of it, And one guy was saying, well, shouldn't women this and shouldn't women that? He's, hey, cabbie, what do you think about that? I said, listen, I'm like Switzerland. I'm a neutral country. I'm not in on this, okay? You guys iron it all out between yourselves, because I don't take sides. That way everybody's happy. If I take a side, then I get into it. I don't want to get into it. Especially these people, they've been drinking, and who knows, they've been doing drugs, and they're acting crazy. So why deal with it, So they got their drugs, and then they told me another address to go to, which wasn't that far away, but another $8 on the clock. At this point, we're over 40. And we finally get to our destination, and they're all piling out, and the guy's sitting in the back, listen, I'm sorry, I had to put you through all this and take you through all that. And I said, no problem, it's part of the job, $50 on the meter. He says, I'll give you 70, is that okay? So he pulled out a 50, and he pulled out a 20. I'm going, yeah, that's fine. I'll give you 80, he said. Oh, yeah, that's fine, thank you, that's wonderful. And he gave me a 50, a 20, and another 20. That's 90. So here I am trying to give him his $10 change for giving me 80. And he says, no, forget about it, keep that. So for $54 fare, I got $90 plus the other $20. It was like $110 in my last hour and a bit. So at that point, I was very happy to go to the gas pump and fuel it up. That was Monday night. That was nice. Tuesday night I came to work, and an envelope with $80 in it was waiting for me here in the car, because that's the overs I had from last week's Interac. Yes, Nick, Interac is the same as a debit. It's a debit. It's a portable debit. This is the machine here. This is Interac. You put the card in. Well, actually, you put the amount. You put the card in, the customer gives you a tip and stuff, and then after the customer has given you a tip, they hit the OK, and then they hit their PIN number, and hopefully, if everything works out right, the thing gives a printout and says approved. And that's it. Yes, Interac is debit, direct debit, takes the money out of your bank account, and the same machine works for credit cards too. And I don't have to wait for my money. I just give the slips in the way of paying the lease for the car, to use the car. And once I've paid the lease, then I receive my overs if I have overpaid in Interac and credit slips, if that makes any sense. I don't know what you called it, but whatever. There you go, Nick. Okay. Tuesday night, I came out. I got my money. I got my overs. And it was a slow night. Typically, I had 1 trip an hour. I worked 12 hours. I had 13 trips altogether. The average trip was about $10. So it wasn't really that prosperous a night. It was quiet out here. The only reason I did that well is because most of the other drivers went home around midnight because they were so disgusted with how slow a night it was. So that was April Fool's Day. Not very profitable, not really wonderful. I had more money in overs from last week than I made all night, Tuesday night. And you know you're getting old when no one tries to April Fool joke you. And you know you're really getting old when you see a video on the 2nd of April that was intended to be an April Fool joke and it doesn't faze you, and you definitely don't get fooled. Then you know you're old, when April Fool jokes don't work on you and people don't bother trying them on you. So yeah, that was it. Monday, Tuesday. Monday slow except for that last hour and a bit, and Tuesday slow also. It is the first week of the month. People have just paid their rent. I'll get back to you later on in the week. Hope yours is better than mine. I'm going to enjoy my book tonight.